Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing the mid-year check-in tag. I did already do the mid-year book freak-out tag. I think I've said the words in the right order there already, which I posted at the start of the month, and I will link that in the description. But I saw Harriet Rosie from Harriet Rosie Reads do an amalgamation of the two tags, and it reminded me of the questions in this one, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do both. So some of the questions overlap, are the same, but I'm trying to give different answers, and I just thought it would be fun. So yeah, let's get into it. So this tag was co-created by Harriet Rosie and also Dane from Dane Reads. I've got my notes down here, who I will link both of them in the description. Like I said, I think this is a really interesting tag to do. It's the time of year for it, so why not? Right, question 1. How many books have you read so far this year? So I'm filming this in mid-July and I have read 84 books so far this year. By the time this goes up at the end of July, I should be, hopefully, around 90 books, which is just insane. It's a lot. I feel like, I know for a fact that I'm reading more this year than I have in other years at this point in the year. And given everything else that's been going on this year, I am really impressed with myself. Yeah, I'm really happy with how my reading is going. I think I've said this in a number of videos now, but I've had so many people say, oh, I don't know how you're keeping up with reading as well as teaching and stuff. And I'll be honest, I have to read. Like, reading for me is not an option. I have to read every day. It's my biggest form of self-care. It very much keeps me sane, keeps me balanced. I need it to relax, and yeah, it's definitely rescued me this year. So yeah, I'm loving how my reading is going. Question 2, what is your favourite book so far this year? So this is one of the questions that I've already answered in the other tag, which, like I said, will be linked in the description. So I've picked a different book, because I've read so many great ones this year. I was looking back, I've got my like my book, this is my book journal, which I don't ever show because it's rubbish, but I was just looking back through at the books that I've chosen as my favourite each month. I saw this one and I was like, yes, that would definitely be in my top 5 books of the year. So the book I'm going with is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I was really kindly gifted this for Christmas. I think it was Faye. Where is the gift note? I don't know what I've done with that. I'm pretty sure it was Faye who gifted it to me, so thank you. And I'm picking this one because I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. I gave it 5 stars. It was my first ever V.E. Schwab, and I just loved it. Read it back in February, and I really want to reread it, even though it's quite long. It's historical fiction with a fantasy sci-fi element to it. It's quite difficult to categorise, but it was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, it's 550 pages. It's not short, but I absolutely flew through it. So we're following Addie LaRue, who, when she is, I think, in her early 20s, we start in France in 1714. Thankfully, it's in the synopsis. And Addie LaRue is being forced to marry somebody that she doesn't want to. And so she makes a deal with the devil, who says that she will be able to live her life entirely free, do whatever she likes, but the price is that nobody will ever remember her. So if she's in a room with people and they leave the room and come back, when they come back into the room, they don't know who she is. And we follow her life from the 1700s through to 2018, I think it is. So we follow her across 300 years, and one day she's in a bookshop and a man remembers her, and it goes from there. And it's a love story. It's absolutely gorgeous, and yes, there are some plot holes in it. I don't care. I absolutely love this book. It was stunning, and it was definitely one of my favourite books of the year. So question 3, what's the most disappointing book you've read this year? So I didn't give an answer for this when I did the mid-year freak-out tag, and then I watched it back and I was like, I should have just answered it. So I don't have any of these books with me because I have already unhauled them. But every single month, I'll just show you January, like this is how basic my journal is. I will write down my favourite book of the month and also my most disappointing. So I thought I would just go through quickly and talk about the books that have made my most disappointing list so far. So January's was The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. That was a reread, and man, that has not aged well. I really, really didn't like it. I think I gave it 2 stars. So that's the first one. February was The Silence. I can't remember who that's by. But clearly I didn't enjoy it. March was Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. I was really gutted to dislike that book. I actually DNF'd it at like 300 pages in. It's a big book, so I was about halfway through. I really, really enjoyed the first book in that series. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. Picked that one up and I was bored senseless. So yeah, I was gutted by that one. In April it was The Imposter by somebody Wharton. I will put these books in the description. Yeah, that was what I thought was going to be a thriller, but it was actually just kind of it was literary fiction with a few creepy bits thrown in, and it just didn't work for me at all. And I also really didn't like the protagonist. Then in May, Perfectly Preventable Deaths. That one was one that I buddy read with Chloe from Chloe Reads Books. That was our first buddy read together. I was really excited for it because it was about natural magic and sisters and creepy stuff, and it was supposed to be weird, and I was just bored. It was by Deirdre Sullivan, who I've now read 2 books from and didn't really enjoy either of them. And that was a really disappointing read for me. And then June, what did I put down for June? Oh, She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Chan, which I feel really bad saying. The only reason for me that it didn't work for me is it's very, very heavy fantasy, and that wasn't what was marketed. So yeah, that did not work for me either. Okay, enough negativity. Which genre have you read most this year? Literary fiction is the answer to that. I have also been tracking that in my journal, looking at genres and stuff, and it's literary fiction. My reading has changed and grown a lot since I came onto Booktube. When I first started out, I was reading a lot of thrillers. I've not read that many thrillers this year. It's been very literary fiction heavy. I think it's partly because I'm very lucky to be sent books by Book Break, who are part of Pan Macmillan, and they are very literary fiction focused. And also I'm just finding loads that I really enjoy, and I'm kind of finding my like niche, or the bits of literary fiction that I like. I don't like what I would call high literary fiction, where it's like Ali Smith, that kind of writer, because I just can't connect. But I've found loads that I have really enjoyed this year. And yeah, literary fiction, when I looked at it, I was like, huh, that's surprising. Name a new favourite author that you have discovered this year. Phoebe Wynne, who wrote Madam, also one of my favourite books of this year. I've already talked about it quite a bit, but we are following a young classics teacher who gets a job in the 90s at this very elite Scottish boarding school. All is not as it seems, and I thought this was fantastic. This was her debut. I will definitely be picking up literally anything else that she writes, and I'm really excited to see what she comes out with next. So yeah, definitely Phoebe Wynne. Absolutely loved this, and I'm excited for more. Number 6, what's the most surprisingly good book you've read so far this year? So this is the only question where my answer is overlapping with the freak out tag, because I was genuinely surprised at how much I have loved this book, and that's Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. At the time of filming this, I've only read the first volume. By the time you see it, I might have read volume 2 as well. I'm lucky enough to have all of the volumes, like 2, 3 and 4, on my TBR shelf. And I will admit, I didn't think I was going to like this, because it's a graphic novel, which is not a format I read very much. It's YA, and it's hyped, and I kind of thought, oh, it's going to be one of those books that everyone else loves, and I'm just a bit like meh about. But my goodness, did this like take my heart and stomp on it, and somehow like make it feel better and put it back together again. I absolutely loved this graphic novel. In case you don't know, we're following, why have I got hair in my eye every time I'm filming? We are following Nick and Charlie, who are 2 boys in a British high school or secondary school, and they meet, and it's about their friendship and then eventually their love story, and it was just glorious, and I'm excited to read more. So yeah, that was my biggest surprise of the year so far. Question 7, what are your favourite and most anticipated 2021 releases? So I've got a couple that I've got on pre-order, one of which I talked about again in the Freak Out tag, which is linked in the description. But the one that's coming up next is Grady Hendrix's new book, which is The Final Girls, a support group. I am really excited. Like, at the time of filming, I think it's due tomorrow, and I'm really excited. I just know I'm going to ditch everything that's on my TBR to read it pretty much immediately. Yeah, I love Grady Hendrix. I've read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, My Best Friend's Exorcism, and Horror Store, all in the last 12 months. I'm obsessed. I love the way he writes. He's so great at writing female characters and female friendships. He's also funny and creepy and gross. It's like all of my favourite things together. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. And that's the next one I've got on pre-order that's due to arrive. I think it's tomorrow, which is very exciting. Number 9, what has been your bookish highlight of the year so far? So reaching 2,000 subscribers on this channel has been definitely my bookish highlight of the year so far. I mean, like I said, I've been having a really good time reading, but I've already talked about like my favourite book and stuff. And the other bookish thing that I do is Booktube, and yeah, reaching 2,000 subscribers was a really, really great milestone. At the time I'm filming this, it happened yesterday, so it's very fresh. And yeah, that's been fab. And also just interacting with people. I feel like I've got a really good kind of rhythm going at the moment with all the people that I interact with in the bookish community. I'm just having a lovely time. So yeah, Booktube, cheesy as it is my bookish highlight of the year so far. Question 10. What is a book you started reading this year and still need to complete? I can understand why this question is in here. I don't have any of those because when I start reading a book, I either finish reading it within a week or so or I DNF it. So I don't have an answer to this, but we're moving on. Question 11. What's the best classic book you've read so far this year? So this is, I was looking back through, I've not read any classics so far this year at all. So I don't have an answer. But also I don't feel bad about it. I put loads of effort last year into like reading one classic book a month, and I've read loads that I enjoyed, and I've had to read a lot for university and school, so I don't feel bad about it. But one book that I do want to reread this year, hopefully by the end of the year, is Emma by Jane Austen. Look at this beautiful, I will not be reading this edition because I cannot destroy this. This is just too pretty. I am lucky enough to have the whole set. I bought them for myself about 18 months ago. Can't remember why. Some reward for something, and they're just so beautiful. It's a vintage classic edition, and they have these gorgeous French flaps. Like, they are one of my favorite collections in my collection, so I won't be reading this actual edition. But I always say when people ask me that Emma is my favorite Jane Austen, and I realised recently I've actually not read it for years, so at some point this year I might do it on audiobook. I want to reread Emma, because I've not really been doing that much classic reading this year. But yeah, this is definitely one that is on my priority list. Can we just admire? They're so pretty. They're so pretty. Okay, and then the last question is, who do you tag? I'm actually not going to tag anyone because I feel like either people have done this video by now or they'll be moving on to other stuff as we get past the midpoint of the year. So I'm not going to tag anyone, but I did very much enjoy doing this tag. If you made it this far, leave me an orange emoji, any orange emoji that you like. Just let me know that you made it to the end of the video. Please subscribe if you would like more of this chaos, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.